Hello there, this is Big Benedict. We're playing Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition on Dante Must Die difficulty, and this is mission 6 of 20. We're going through the game on the hardest difficulty using the female protagonists, one of whom is on screen now, named Lady, and we're trying to wage this campaign without using items. So this chapter is not very hard if you consider the fact that there are other people out there who endeavor to do these games without using continues, and this chapter would be an absolute nightmare for the simple reason that Agnes, the mid-level boss, requires a little bit of luck, maybe even a lot, and it's not fair. And I've never gone through the stages without without using continues. I've always used continues. I've always felt kind of bad that the checkpoints were so poor in the first place, but I had a moment of empathy for the people who do go through these games and try to defeat these bosses, and just you're relying on that little bit of luck and you just don't get it, and you have to do a fight like this over again, which is admittedly very crummy, and a section up ahead which is the epitome of just dull and uninspired gameplay. You've got to do all that, and if you do that, you do get a checkpoint, but the people who go through these games trying to S rank or triple S rank, I don't know if there's a double S rank, I'm just not a score person, but for those people, they've got to start at the beginning again. So as much as it does suck to keep dying on Agnes, I suppose just having the luxury of that nice checkpoint right in front of him, you kind of take it for granted sometimes. So I'll be trying my best to not lament the checkpoints in this game, because for some people there are no checkpoints. They don't exist, because if you use them, you'll immediately void your rank. So the only difference I'll talk about on the game board is that since her weapon is so slow, you need to make sure that you're hitting the die well in advance, just so that there's enough time for the weapon to build up. And the only thing that I have to say about it is just I hold the lock-on on. I hold the lock-on on and I just press the Y button. I don't press forward and Y with the lock-on held, because then she'll do a circular attack, which is it's just less reliable to get the roll that you want. But as long as you just press right bumper plus Y right next to the die, provided that you know which number is going to land, should be no problem for you. And one of the reasons I was even mentioning the people that do these games is I have one subscriber whose video I was watching, and he was going through the game S ranking it. His name is Haddo, and I could hear his struggle in the back of my mind when I was doing this chapter, because it really is a tough chapter, and he's got a pretty good technique. If you watch his video, he'll probably leave a comment, as he usually does when I announce his name, so that people can click on his name and go over to his channel and hopefully subscribe to him. But what I saw him doing was he was manipulating the camera here as much as you can. I was trying to see if I could do what he was doing, but it's kind of difficult. Maybe he can shed a little bit of light of what he was doing, but he was standing next to the door, and he was only keeping a portion of the arena on the screen. And I tried to do it, but I was having trouble, so I just decided to just start mixing in with these enemies. What you're going to notice is that when they glow, they're aiming directly for you. So if you hit them, you'll interrupt them, although the lock-on, as you can imagine, is not the best, especially with the line launching thing that she has. And I probably died about at least a half a dozen times here. I don't think you can hit him through the wall the way you can with Virgil. So it's, and thinking about the Godfather Dictator doing this to him no damage, I can't even conceive of how that could even be possible. But he did it, and I've never questioned his integrity because he's got a lot of it. So, I mean, there's a couple of people that I just mentioned. If you want their help, you know, if you're trying to do it harder than what I'm doing here, which is to say, not relying on that checkpoint, you have some options there. So basically, that fight, what I do is I keep using the hook shot to send the swords back, and it does pretty good damage. And you know, if you're following this guide, you will have checkpoints to fall back on, so it's not too bad. And then of course you'll get a checkpoint after the boss, and we'll have some Bianco Angelos down here to fight. And it's nice that the guns, when they reach the levels of the charge, they make very distinct sounds, so that oftentimes, if you don't want to distract your eyes by having to look to see what level charge it is, you can just listen for it. It's very good, actually. Especially the third charge of the level 3 shotgun. It makes a very distinct noise. So what we have now is 3 fights with different spawns of these Alto Angelos. Or I should say Bianco Angelos, because they're the white guys. But how many? I think there's just 2 in that first fight. 2 in this fight. And then maybe 5 at the next one. So when you play as this character, you just kind of have to take what you get. A lot of the times you don't want to have the enemies hit you while you're doing the charge, so you've got to cancel it out. And part of me wishes there were on landing charges in this game to expedite how fast you would get it, but this is not Ninja Gaiden, and it just doesn't do the things that game does. Which isn't to say anything bad about this game, because this game is good. I mean, in the first video, or video 2, or whatever it was, outside the Opera House, when I said I just didn't like this character, I don't really like her, but despite my feelings, I still have fun using this character. She's fun. I would rather use a character who has melee combat, like Trish, you know. I just would prefer to get in the enemy's face and use the sword. And oh yeah, one thing I wanted to remark about that, even though it has no salient business to be in this discussion, is that her sword is actually like considered a secondary weapon. But when I use her, I like to use it as the primary weapon. So I put it on the Y button, and I put the gauntlets on the B button. Just a little bit of trivia for that. So, a final fight down here. What is there really to say except charge shot level 3 from range? You know, and then close in the distance when you get your shotgun charged up and try to shoot these guys as close in the face as you can. And that's it. There are a couple of frost fights, but we're just going to slide past those fuckers and just get out of this laboratory area. And head on over to the jungle. I'm currently stuck on Agnes. No. What's his name? The Chapter 8 boss. What is his name? I don't know what his name is. I'm currently stuck on him. I did get a trophy or an achievement on Echidna. Something called Bad Seed or something for SSS ranking the fight. But I don't know how that works, since my ultimate score was, I think it was an A, so I'm not sure what the criteria was. But here are the aforementioned frosts and we're just gonna head on out of here. So I want to thank everybody for putting up with this chapter. I know it's a pretty rough one, but with those tactics I laid down and the references I gave out, hopefully your struggles can be ameliorated as best as possible. So I'm going to see you in chapter 7 presently, and we will get through that chapter just as we got through this one. So take care of yourselves. This is Vic Benedict. I'm out. Take care.